USC. The Trojans, they got one of the most coveted targets in the country on campus for practice. We're talking number 1 cornerback, Brandon Arrington. He was there yesterday. What's the latest intel?
Well, the Trojans remain one of the top contenders for one of the most coveted in-state targets, Brandon Arrington Jr. I spoke with his father after the visit. They really enjoyed getting back around defensive coordinator Deanton Lynn, one of the defensive back coaches, Doug Belk, and then Coach Riley. All three of them very pivotal in this recruitment and keeping Arrington home. The Mount Miguel standout is also high on Texas A&M, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia, to name a few others. He'll be at Texas A&M, not this weekend, but next weekend. But the coaching, man. I mean, Coach Deanton Lynn, his track record, what he did at UCLA, what he was able to help accomplish in year 1 at USC, his NFL experience, that pedigree has USC in great position. Proximity to home is another factor, obviously going in USC's favor for Brandon Arrington. So the Trojans, number 2 class in the country, they're going to be in the conversation for number 1 all cycle. Brandon Arrington, one of their key targets, and USC remains on the short list.
What's your general thoughts right now on Brandon Arrington? I know you and I talked 6-8 weeks ago about Arrington, and you were saying maybe Texas A&M is out front. Do you still feel that way? Where do you think the teams are? How do you think this is shaping up right now?
Well, there's been so many leaders at the top, Josh. We were talking about Texas A&M in the fall, but actually,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, we've kind of pivoted to Oregon, then Alabama, and I think that just means that he likes everybody, and it's a legit top 5. And when he gets on these campuses and gets around these programs that have so much to sell on and off the football field, he falls in love again, And so I think it'll be interesting to see how this recruitment takes shape as these NIL conversations heat up. He also spent time with USC's track program on his latest visit. It was his first spring practice. But Alabama blew him away when he was down there. They have 2 California natives starting at cornerback for them. Yeah. And he felt like he really fit in around Alabama's defensive back room and that program, getting around Georgia and just seeing why they're successful year in and year out and being part of that legacy was exciting to him. Texas A&M, they're in the middle of it for everybody. They're like Oregon, man. You name a blue chipper, Oregon and Texas A&M are on the short list. Yeah. And they're in it for Brandon Arrington as well. And then we checked. Oregon blew him away. Speaking of Oregon blew Brandon Arrington away. Before he took that Alabama visit, it was Oregon that was trending after time with Dan Lanning and the Ducks. So it could still go a lot of different ways. He's got a lot of love for his top programs. It's easy to see why, if you're watching the Whip On Whip Around, why he loves those schools. And it'll be one of the more fascinating recruitments to follow because I think if he knew where he wanted to go, he'd already be in the fold.
Last week, as you know, Steve, me and Trey, my producer, we were out at Mater Dei High School, and at the time, defensive lineman Tomuhini Topui was committed to Oregon, but in less than a week, he is now decommitted. And I got to ask you, Steve, is he USC's to lose at this point?
Well, I think so, but this one's been fluid. Oregon got him in the boat in the fall. Then he's visited USC a couple times. Then it felt like Oregon was going to hold off USC. But USC is obviously the program trending. He decommitted from Oregon. He was back on USC's campus. Coach Henne talks with the USC staff close to home. The excitement around the program, how hard USC is hitting Mater Dei with some of these prospects that they're keen on in this 2026 cycle. USC's trending, but Oregon's not going to go away on Tom. And we'll see if programs like Miami can get involved as well. But I really like where USC stands. I think that he could be the next one in the fold for the Trojans, and then they'll have to battle all the way to the early signing period.
All right. Now, as USC battles for that number 1 spot in the recruiting rankings, they currently have 16 commitments, but I talked with Scott Schrader. They could take up to 35 in this class. Who else are the Trojans trending for right now?
Well, they had some other key prospects on campus in addition to Arrington and Tom earlier this week. 2026 receiver Cone Brown out of the Lone Star State. He is a high priority for USC. He had a great visit and loves what they're trying to build there. So keep an eye on USC for Cone Brown. They also hosted safety Gavin Day out of Nevada. He talked about Coach Rex Ryan, Coach Lynn, Coach Belt, Coach Riley. Had great talks with all of them. So it looks like USC's really hitting the gas for Gavin Day. Kenneth Goodwin's an in-state linebacker leaning Georgia right now, but USC offered during his visit, and the Trojans are quickly becoming stock up. This is going to be a huge weekend for USC, Josh. Cody Green, number one prospect in the state, On3's number 3 offensive tackle in the land, top 10 player overall. He's also committed to Oregon. USC chipping away. They have him on the list for an official this summer. They're getting him on campus this weekend, and they're in the thick of that one. Texas also trying to get the spatula out, but Oregon's got their hands full with USC for another coveted prospect in Cody Green. Albert Hill's the number 1 prospect in Ohio, one of the elite corner prospects in this 2026 cycle. He was back at Ohio State this week. Alabama's doing a great job there, but so's USC and Oregon, and this will be his second visit to USC this calendar year. A few more notables: Samuelo Utu, 4-star in-state offensive lineman. I have predicted to USC. They have a lot of competition from coast to coast for him, so it's good for USC to get Utu back on campus. And Nasir Rankin is a 4-star athlete from Illinois that was trending the Illini. But since then, Dre Brown, one of Illinois' key off-field recruiting personnel guys, Illinois alum, he is now at USC, came out there with Chad Bowden, USC's electric general manager that's been so pivotal for them on the trail since he was hired. They're back working together at USC. Nasir Rankin is one of their top targets. So I'm really keeping an eye on USC this weekend for Nasir Rankin if they can make a move for the Morgan Park standout. And then Tamaine Purcell is a tight end from Hawaii. We've talked a lot about USC rising with Mark Bowman, in-state guy. But Tamaine Purcell from Hawaii is another guy that they covet that's coming in this weekend that I think USC is going to have an excellent chance to land.